So Condorcet voting is actually more sensical than what people think. And I'm going to show that to you guys right now. So Condorcet voting means that you have a pairwise winning. So here, if you ever ask your friends to vote whether they wanted vanilla, chocolate, or strawberry ice cream, you might think, well, okay, 45% wanted vanilla and only 15% wanted chocolate, so I think chocolate would lose and vanilla would win. But if you really think about it, you don't really know if that's the case of what people actually want. Because you might ask everyone who wanted the vanilla and the strawberry what they really wanted if they could only choose between chocolate and strawberry. And you could ask everyone what they would want to choose if they could only pick between vanilla and chocolate. And in that same case, with these same voters, it might be the case that chocolate would beat out vanilla 55% to 45%, and chocolate would beat out strawberry 60% to 40%. With these same exact voters, with these same exact first choices. Now, first choices, it might sound like it's fair that everyone gets one vote, but does that really make sense? What really happened here? Maybe it's because of the choices that were available and what people might have wanted. For example, if somebody had vanilla the first time, they might want to have something different the second time. So maybe everyone who didn't vote for chocolate actually likes chocolate more than their other choice, but they just had chocolate last time. Let's look at the Condorcet paradox, because some people say, well, you could have 5 people that vote that they want C more than A, and you could have 3 people that might have said they wanted A more than B, and you could have had 2 people that said they want B more than C. So therefore, it's contradictory, and therefore it's nonsensical. Well, that's not really true. You could subtract 3, or 2 in this case, from all of these, and you'd end up with 3 votes for C is greater than A, and 1 vote for A is greater than B. So therefore, you have C beating out A and A beating out B as a result. So the Condorcet paradox actually doesn't prove anything about Condorcet voting being a good or bad criterion for voting. Let's move on. So let's say you have one candidate that has 500 votes in this situation, and these other candidates have 400, 350, and 450. Well, let's say this guy wants his twin to run. And by the way, we're not taking a Condorcet vote, we're just taking a regular plurality vote, like voting for president. Well, let's say his twin runs and now these votes get split. So now he has 249 and he has 251. This is exactly why the party system was created. Now both of these guys will lose just on the basis that the twin ran. Now in a Condorcet vote, adding the twin would not change the result at all, and removing a twin would not change the result at all amongst the rest of the candidates. It would only change the result if that particular person was in your description of what you were trying to tell about the vote. For example, if they won or if they got last place. Obviously, adding them or removing them as a candidate would determine that, but it won't change the relationship of all the other candidates to each other. Okay, so there's also this Arrow's theorem, which says that you don't want ties and you don't want these other things, so it's kind of impossible to come up with an algorithm that satisfies all these things. Well, ties aren't that bad of a thing, so let's think about this for a second. So they might have something called the dictator paradox, which I think is funny because there's nothing wrong with having one person determine a tie breaker, because people are almost pretty much, when you have 1,000 people voting and 500 vote one way and 500 vote another, it's okay that one person would be able to switch it because it's already pretty much even. But in this case, I'm going to show you what I like to call the Hitler paradox. And this one does matter because you could have someone like this who has, say, 6% of the votes, and let's say they're crazy. They just want to burn all Jews for fun because they think it's cool to be mean and they don't want anything but destruction. And they only have 6% of the votes because, well, there's a 6% of the population who might think that they're okay. But the rest of the population, let's say they have their votes split between these other candidates, which are very similar to each other. But because they're so similar to each other, their votes get split so much. So even though, we'll pretend there's more of them here, even though these would actually add up total, if you add enough of them, to 94% versus the 6%, in a plurality vote, they would not win. In fact, even if you could guarantee that 94% of the population would all choose, if they could give an ordering rather than just a first vote, that all these other candidates are more preferable to this other one who only got 6% of the first votes, it still wouldn't matter. He would still win. So the Hitler paradox, in my opinion, is something that I just made up, is way more important than the dictator paradox, which in my opinion just has to do with tie breaking. It doesn't really matter so much. So, too long didn't read. Arrows and possibility theorem doesn't matter, and Condorcet paradox doesn't matter. Follow me, I'm going to keep making some more math videos. Thanks.